Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 11 of the Roots of Life podcast. My name is Taylor. I am one of your hosts, joined today by the fantastic James.
Hello, everyone.
How are you doing today, Jimmy?
I'm fantastic today. I had a great day, got up early, went to a staff meeting, got some stuff done, tried to get my computer fixed, but found out that nobody will fix what I have wrong with it, but I'll do it myself.
What is wrong with your computer right now?
I have a Chromebook, and I spilt some ginger beer on it while I was moving. So the backlight doesn't work at the moment for the screen. So everything else works. I just need the backlight, which from my reading is possible to change without changing the screen. But I just have to figure out how to do it because nobody else will.
So you're going to teach yourself.
Exactly.
That's awesome. That's taking the initiative and owning up to your shit, getting it done, right? You could go pay someone a bunch of money to, say, fix your car or fix your computer, or you could teach yourself how to do it. YouTube's a powerful thing.
I mean, I tried to give a guy some money to do it.
He didn't bite.
Wouldn't.
So you were that guy who was trying to sneak past the line of the club and give the bouncer an extra $50 bill so that he would let you in quick and be like, yo, man, like, you don't got to tell anybody about this. This doesn't got to go down in the books, but let me in. And then he was like, nah, man, like,
Yeah.
it doesn't work that way. It's ladies' night.
Yeah, the guy actually looked like a bouncer too. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're taking that initiative,
Yeah.
That's a good thing, Teach yourself, right? There's nothing wrong with gaining a little bit of knowledge,
Yeah.
learning something new, as we always try to preach or always try to emphasize to everybody that, it's a good thing to do, right? Just try to always, elevate a little bit.
I mean, we kind of preach it.
We do, but, we try to do it with a certain level of respect, I guess.
Yeah, of course.
That's awesome. I'm doing pretty well today. If I'm
Good.
lying, I guess.
I was going to say, are you sure you want to stick with that answer?
Yeah, no. So I am feeling a little rough today. It's a testament to what sleep can do to you and do for you. So I ended up doing a night shift a couple days ago, and my immune system crashed. I feel awful. I mean, I don't feel awful, but I developed, this a congested throat, and I slept more than I probably should have. Obviously, because my body needed it. So I apologize ahead and in advance to everyone if you hear any wrapper crinkling. It is me going hard on the lozenges to try and clear up my throat so I don't sound all nasally for you guys. I'm also drinking lots of tea. I have some ginger tea on the go at the moment because everybody knows that as long as you haven't been living under a rock for the last 10 years, you know that ginger is good for you. There's many health benefits.
I'm pretty sure that's like thousands of years that people have been drinking ginger.
Well, some people have been living under rocks for 10 years, okay?
Okay, fair enough.
So very good for inflammation, anti-inflammatory it is. It helps with pain. It's good for colds and flus. Pretty common knowledge. So, yeah, I'm doing that right now. These throat lozenges are amazing. I was like amazed at how well they worked. And I proceeded to look into the ingredient list on the throat lozenges, and I noticed there was a couple medical ingredients in these ones particularly. And I think a common mistake that gets made is a lot of products on the market today, not just in terms of medicine, but even another really common one is like hair products, like shampoo is, like a lot of them will say that they do these great things for your hair, but then when you look at them, if there's any actual medical ingredients in them, they have to list them, and they have to list them as medical ingredients. So when you look at certain products, they will say that, like, yes, these are non-medical ingredients, which if there is no medical ingredients in them, their marketing is just working great because you've already bought in the product. So there is some menthol in these ones, which are fantastic. Menthol is it helps with irritation. It's really known for that. It's an organic compound that gets synthesized from things like peppermint and different oils.
Different mint types. It has natural cooling properties.
Yeah, exactly. So that one is being great. There's also eucalyptus oil in it, which is like one of those oils that I almost just want to associate with like coconut oil in one of those ways that it can do so many things. It has so many benefits. I don't know why more people don't use them. So yeah, I mean, it helps with colds and flus. It's known for that. It can like get stuff out of your carpets or your clothes. If you have some stank shoes, it'll help with that. I've heard of people putting eucalyptus oils in like diffusers, and then it'll diffuse while you sleep, and so you're like taking in the benefits of the oils like at all times. It gets used for like things like bronchitis and asthma and all those sorts of things. So it's great. Back to the menthol though, it is an agonist with certain receptors in the body that have to do with the kappa opioid receptor. So the core receptor, and what it does is it's an agonist for it, and what it does is it allows to mediate with certain parts of your body, and what it does is it can allow for positive changes. It allows for your body to kind of certain parts to open up and allow for mood changes and stuff, usually in a very beneficial way. So there's a lot of health benefits to both of them, and if you can apply them or implement them, it's a pretty weak one in terms of that, as opposed to other stronger agonists for your core receptors. So it's one of many, but yeah, I mean, just taking these throat lozenges a couple times throughout this period of while my throat's been irritable has just helped me even feel better. Like, it doesn't just help my throat, but it also helps alleviate some of that sick feeling that I have of my body being worn down. And even right now, like, I'm sweating, like it's cooking in here, and it shouldn't be. Like, my house isn't that hot, but I know that's my body, trying to get rid of all of that viral,
trying to burn off the bug.
Yeah, trying to get that virus out of me, which we talked a bit about last week because different ideas. Because Jimmy, you were sick.
Yes, I was. I'm sorry I got you sick through the internet.
Yeah, it was probably through this conversation that I somehow obtained your virus.
I wouldn't doubt it.
It's very possible.
Some kind of computer virus.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk a bit about addiction because it's something that we haven't really touched on thoroughly. We have talked about it a bit in smaller doses, and while I was doing some research about medicinal ingredients recently, I kept coming across addiction a lot, and a lot of things that can help with certain withdrawal symptoms.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to address the topic a little bit. Me and Jimmy thought it would be good to talk to everybody about it. Jimmy I know you've seen some pretty interesting things in your career.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Jimmy? Like, where do we want to start? Do you want to talk about like the path to addiction? How do you become addicted? Do you think it's genetics?
Oh man, the path to addiction, that is one of those things that still is really difficult for most people in this field to even fathom how somebody becomes addicted. There can be those kids that grew up in an affluent family. It seems like everything went well for them until they met the wrong friends, and now they smoke crack under a bridge somewhere. I mean, and then there's those kids that you'd think everything that's happened to them in their life would lead to addiction, and they're not addicted to anything. But I don't know, like it's one of those things that it's really difficult to tell how somebody became addicted or what led to their addiction. A lot of people that have mental health problems, people that had so those are like the risk factors basically for addiction are mental health problems. You have like poor family life, a poor childhood where maybe the kid was abused in some way, anything like that. You name it. You can have friends that were into these things. It can be parents that were into these things. It could be anything really that leads to it. And really where we're treating things at this point is we're treating the addiction itself, and we're not, I feel like most of the time we're not getting past that and trying to move into why. It's more just quit that addiction, stop doing that thing, and not fixing what those people that are doing these drugs are trying to fix themselves by doing those drugs.
Well, there's a certain cycle that has been happening within, I think, for the most part, Western society, which there's certain European cultures that are starting to make these shifts and these changes, which I think it's going to be very important moving forward that we follow their lead, which is, lots of people, they end up on the streets maybe because of something as a mental health issue, where they don't know, and then what happens is they do become addicted, and then they get thrown into jail at some point or prison because the fact that they were, say, caught for possession or distributing or something related, right? Or maybe they ended up stealing and they got caught for theft, and then what happens is they go in and they spend this time in there, and there's no good form of rehabilitation in there. They get treated so poorly, and then they just get thrown back out onto the streets. Whereas if you had some kind of system in place to help help with their psychological problems and help rehabilitate them and make them constructive citizens in society, then there might be a way of lessening the percentage of people with addiction, and let alone it would help clean up the streets and everything like that.
I mean, I feel like this would probably be a better conversation for us to be having with my girlfriend, actually, because she deals even more with people that are addicted to things than I do. She comes home with stories about people that are just on so many different drugs. It's ridiculous. And yeah, so she works as a government employee and deals with a lot of people that are coming off the street high on drugs, on whatever it is, heroin, fentanyl, meth, you name it. And she tells me all these stories about how they looked, how they act, the things they tell you, the different stories they believe to be true when you can tell that it's complete fiction. And this is mental health as well as the addiction. But and I've dealt with it a little bit here and there. I've seen a few of the youth come in to the shelter where I've been working, and they're really messed up on drugs or have drugs with them and that kind of thing. But I'm not necessarily, I'm not an expert in any way on the scope of addictions or the process of addictions.
No, but that's why we're just here having a conversation.
Yeah, that's why we're
just
talking.
We just
want
to discuss it a little bit for everyone.
Yeah.
So when in those situations where you do come across specifically the youth who are involved in one way or another, I guess with substance abuse, what do you do in that situation? Because going back to what I was saying before is, a lot of the times, what they're starting to implement in certain countries is giving people a safe place to use. So I was watching, it must have been a short documentary the other day, and it was they had even talked to one of the users who said I come here and use multiple times a day, and I tell the lady there, okay, just so you know, I'm about to take, this amount of heroin, and it's got this in it, and it's got that in it. And that way, if there is an overdose, she knows exactly how to handle the situation.
That's impressive. I like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's super great that, there's people that are finally starting to create a movement that is
Yeah.
going to be make a difference, just even on a municipal level in that community.
I know back in Nanaimo we do have like safe injection sites. I know Vancouver definitely has those as well. I'm not sure about here in Kamloops. That's just because I haven't really looked into it. But I do know at the shelter we have naloxone kits, and I've been trained in administering it. So if somebody does come in and they end up being end up having an overdose while they're there, if it's on opiates, I can administer naloxone, which is what has been saving all those people's lives that have been overdosing on fentanyl. Not everyone, of course, but we don't have a place for them to use, but we have the gear and like clean needles and things that we give out if we know that they are drug users. We'll give them the stuff they need so that they're not out there using dirty needles or different things like that. So it does help with general health, but we're not trying to say, yeah, go do more drugs, but we want, if they're going to do it anyways, we want it to be a safe like activity, in that they're not going to be contracting whatever diseases they can from picking up a random needle they find, because that's the only thing they can get. So we do have that, and I'm sure there's probably a few safe injection sites around here, and I know for sure that there are some in Nanaimo and in Vancouver.
Yeah, and that's the first step, I think, in an overall looming problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think a big thing that we have to try and separate ourselves from is just the stigma that come with associating with necessarily like street people, because I know even for myself, like when I go downtown to the east side, it's not necessarily a pleasant experience for me. And even if somebody asks me a question in like almost a polite way, like I'm almost likely to ignore them, which I really shouldn't, and that means I'm part of the problem. Now, with these naloxone kits, like in Vancouver, we've got a crazy amount of people that are suffering from opiate addiction, and people are like, the fatality rate is increasing at it like almost exponentially. It's pretty insane. And so recently we had to go through a training. I work at a school, and they wanted us to do training, and we have a naloxone kit on site, and we are, as one of the few staff members who, like, people in my position, we're there 24 hours a day, and they want us to be prepared in case that anything should happen, and if anybody should start overdosing, we need to be prepared, because we want to save people's lives. But
Yeah.
that's I guess, I want to bring awareness to the fact that it's not just people that you expect or that you would suspect as users. There is people of all ages, all ethnicities, all cultures, and there's people suffering all around the world. And so we need to try and find a way, and to help these people. And, it's not, I don't think, and that's going back to what we said again, even before that, was, there's no definitive way of how it got to that stage for these people. It could have been something as early as before they were even born, right?
Yeah, you can be born with a heroin addiction.
Yeah, it is possible. And you come up and, you have all these like irritable symptoms and signs and you don't know why. You're addicted to something and you haven't gotten it, and you don't know what it is that you're addicted to. And so, getting older and older, and then it becomes like a mental health problem, right? And there's no way of really diagnosing that, I don't think. I mean, I'm sure there is, but so, with that being said, it's scary. It's really scary to know what some of the people out there are going through. And I just want to try and help a little bit. And, you know, I hope that this conversation brings some more awareness on top of all the larger media outlets here in the city are doing a great job in bringing awareness. And lots of the local publications have put out, you know, posts about where you can find these things like the naloxone kits in case somebody that you know or somewhere that you are, somebody begins to overdose. So there are the resources out there. I encourage everybody to go find them and, you know, at least be prepared. Don't be ignorant to it.
Yeah.
I want to talk about an experience that I had, which it just brings some insight into how some people think when communicating with people that they don't know and people who, you know, potentially have mental health issues. So I was walking, I was on a coffee break from one of my old jobs when I worked downtown doing construction, and we went for coffee and someone had asked for $1. Now, of course, if you're in a city, like you probably get asked that quite often and you're most likely to ignore that person. And one of my coworkers had like yelled at the guy saying like, "Get a job, you fucking bum." And I turned to my coworker and I was like, "Hey man, like, you do realize that, you know, you don't know his story. You don't know where this guy came from. You know, there's a good chance that he had a job, or maybe he's been trying to get a job for the past year, and maybe because of some kind of mental health issue that he can't sustain a job and he can't work, or maybe nobody will give him a job." You know, I think people just need to be less quick to judge people just on, you know, like, you don't judge a book by its cover.
I just have to say, like, well done for like actually saying that and standing up and being like, "Hey, no, like, you don't know his story." That's awesome. Well done.
Yeah, that's something that I think some of my earlier spiritual teachings taught me. And thank you for acknowledging that. And it was something that, you know, it was just about, I guess, essentially like not judging people, you know, like don't be so quick to judge someone because, and what it came down to is like, I've just met you. I don't know you. I don't know where you come from. I don't know what your experience over the last 20 years has been. So just have a little bit of gratitude, you know, like be thankful if for anything that your life has been what it is and that you have so much that you can be thankful for. And, you know, like I didn't give the guy $1, right? You know, there's times where, you know, somebody might ask me and I might offer to buy them a coffee or something. I have done that multiple times. I've also run into issues from doing that, putting myself in like troublesome situations. So, but yeah, you know, it's just put yourself in someone else's shoes just for a second, shift the perspective and just kind of observe, you know, be the observer to your life. If I was to see myself in that situation and if you saw someone else yell that at someone, would you be like, "Yeah, good job." Like you tell that guy, you know, like this guy who is so broken down and has nothing and is sitting there and there's people yelling at him. Like, I don't know. Like, I think that's pretty sad. Like, just,
I think it's wrong.
Yeah, it's hurtful, you know? Like, I would feel bad if I went to work and I forgot my wallet and I asked, you know, a friend or a coworker for, "Hey man, like, can I have $3 so I can get a coffee and a muffin today? Like, I forgot my wallet. I don't have a lunch." And they were like, "Fuck you, you bum." I'd be like, wow, like, you know, that hurts, right?
Like, whoa, dude.
Yeah, like that's harsh, right? You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's all I just wanted to tell that story. I want everybody to, you know, just take that extra second, think about it before you say it. Like, is it really constructive in any way? Maybe the guy wants help. Maybe he's been looking for it, you know? Maybe he's trying to do something better, but he needs to eat that day, right? So, yeah, you know, take a second, shift your perspective, appreciate your fellow human. If you have any interest, you know, do some outreach programs, help out people. There's tons of resources. You know, it's all out there.
Tons of resources that don't have enough people.
Exactly.
Go help.
don't think that one man can't make a difference, because if we all pitch in a little bit, we can all make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jimmy,
Yes.
I liked that conversation. That was a good conversation.
Yeah, it was good.
Thank you for sharing that with me.
Thank you.
I want to continue by moving on. We're going to do a little bit of moving around today, because today is a good day and there's lots to talk about. So the next conversation, the next topic I want to touch on is, well, I guess to start, today is what, the 18th? The 19th. Today is January 19th. 2 days ago, me and Jimmy launched what is now the Roots of Life podcast. It was an exciting day. If this is the first episode you're listening, we thank you. If you've listened to all of them, thank you just as much. If you care, go subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got all the videos up there. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, and SoundCloud. We thank you all so much from the bottom of our hearts. The overwhelming support from family and friends has just been incredible. And I was spending the day with my girlfriend yesterday, and she made multiple comments about like just the smile on my face and how much I was glowing, because it was just an incredible experience, and it's been awesome. Exciting journey up to this point. And yeah, I'm just super grateful. So I want to say thank you to everybody out there. If you're listening, thank you again so much. We're going to continue doing this because
it's been an amazing couple days since we got that first email saying that it was up on Google Play. We had just recorded episode 10, and we were sitting down playing a couple video games together. And then we got an email in the middle of a game that we couldn't pause. So we were freaking out, playing the game. Rocket League, you can play with us. We'll probably beat you. Just saying.
We're good.
We're awesome. That's right. You know who you are.
He's listening to this laughing for sure.
You better be listening.
Jimmy, what was your experience like yesterday? Like when everything happened, everything came together. You know, we had a couple small victories along the way that were building up. Everything was starting to bubble. Everything was starting to rise. The water levels were rising. And what happened when it overflowed?
Well, yes. Okay, so the first day, I was so stoked. I was literally in the living room jumping for joy, shouting, just pumped. I was dancing around, doing all sorts of fun stuff. Yesterday, we got the email that iTunes was up, so we were stoked about that. But then the anxiety hit me a little bit, where I was thinking like, oh man, what if nobody likes it? Like I was still seeing all this positive stuff, but sometimes that anxiety just like eats away at the inside. And I was just like, oh man, what if nobody likes this? What if nobody wants to talk to me anymore because they're like, oh, look at, we heard this stuff about you that you literally said yourself. So I was like, I don't know. And I hadn't shared it in a way that my parents could find it.
But I did.
But he did. So
unintentionally, I mean.
I saw him post it, and then I was like, maybe I should say something. And then I was like, no, it's fine. They won't see it. It's on his.
I was waiting for you to say something.
Yeah, and then about 4 hours later, my mom tagged me in something, and it was, she was sharing our podcast. And I was like, oh, well, I guess she's already seen it. So I had a conversation with them, and she told me she had watched it, and I was like, I wasn't sure if I wanted you to hear some of these things. And they were like, oh, it's fine, whatever. We're just so proud of you guys for actually like trying and going out there and doing this. So after that, the anxiety was kind of gone, and I had a much better feeling. I was like, okay, yeah, it's fine, whatever. It's great. Let's go. Yeah, so I'm still riding this high. It's great. It's a good time. I'm loving this. I'm happy that it's out there. And I'm happy that we're having so many people that are sending us things saying like, this is awesome. We love this part of it. Like this part was so funny. People are sending us email questions. It's great.
Yeah, it's been really exciting. So thank you all again. You know, go hit us up on any of the platforms there, on most podcast services, and including SoundCloud and YouTube. You can find us. It's all there. We'll put it in the links below. The next topic of the day is one that I'm very excited for. I think we've been waiting for an opportunity to actually implement these things, because up to this point, nobody had heard it until yesterday. Nobody had heard anything we had done over the last couple months. All the time that we've spent together talking, creating the ideas, recording them, and then figuring out how we were going to share it with the world. And now we've done it. And now the fan email has come in. The questions have arrived.
The questions. Before we get to that, though, can I just say, I would like, if you have because we were just talking about addictions, if you have any like personal experience with addiction that you feel that you could share or anything like that, we're not necessarily going to be putting it on the podcast unless you specifically state that that would be okay. But I would like maybe artwork sent in depicting your struggles with it, or just your story written down. One of my favorite, I think I mentioned in the last episode that I had been in a comic book class in school I'd taken as an elective. One of my favorite of those comics was a depiction of a person's struggle when they had moved to New York City and they had gotten multiple different boyfriends that were not necessarily the greatest people for them to be around, and they went through a struggle of going through different addictions. And the whole book, when I first opened it, not even knowing what it was about, I flipped through it really quickly and I was like, wow, the pictures and just the general tone of this book without reading it just seems like a dark heroin addiction or something that just like eats away at the soul, and that's what they're trying to express. And I thought it was a beautiful depiction of that. So, and that's what it ended up being. So I would just love for anybody to share their story, anything like that. But of course, only if you feel comfortable doing so. And that is our challenge for this podcast.
Do it, people. Practice drawing, even if it's basic.
On to the questions.
Okay, so here we go. Our first question comes from a good friend, Paul. Thank you for emailing us. Thank you for your questions. We appreciate it. We appreciate you, Paul. We appreciate all of you listeners out there. Thank you for being on this journey with us. Question 1. This goes back, I think, to a previous episode of the podcast, but we will take your question and we will answer it here. Question: should students in the primary grades see a psychiatrist at regular intervals so when they are adults they are more aware of when they need to see a mental health doctor and stop the stigmas?
Taylor, I want you to give your opinion first, and then I'll answer.
I don't know about a psychiatrist.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think if there's obvious problems when the children are young,
like extreme behavioral issues or something like that?
Yes, precisely. Mm-hmm. Or if there's specific things that need to get worked on, then yes, they should be seeing a psychiatrist or some kind of counselor that can help them sort out these underlying issues and help them resolve them. Because as you get older, you'll bury those deeper and deeper into you. And what'll happen is as you get older, it's like the problem is at the root, right? It's at the end of the root. And as the tree gets taller and taller, you have to start digging. Those roots get longer and longer. And then you have to start digging even farther into the ground to uproot the problem. And so if you don't address those issues when you're young, which is hard to do because as an adolescent, you don't know. So hopefully parents can, help with just observing your children and monitoring them. And then, if you think that there's something that should be addressed, don't hesitate because it's your children's health that's at risk. And obviously the children of the future, we want to help develop strong and healthy minds for the future generations. On another note, I think a great way to promote awareness and help people understand these things a little more, you know, I think would be introducing them to certain practices at an early age. Like, I want to share things like yoga with my children, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, so that like I can teach them to like calm down, slow down, relax a little bit, and that'll teach them to be aware. And then hopefully over time they can help take that practice into their lives as they get older, and that will just help them develop a more stable lifestyle and more, you know, understand their emotions and understand the world around them a little bit more. So I think it's kind of circumstantial, you know, depending on the situation of the child themselves. I think, yes, it does not hurt to, I mean, damn, like psychiatrists are probably expensive. You know, I assume that those doctors make probably $100 an hour or whatever they make. And
probably.
it's probably expensive to send a child to one of those regularly, and not all parents have the means to do that.
I mean, I think in this question, and there would probably be a system in place in schools or something where there's like,
yeah,
I know
I think that would be great.
A lot of schools, there's the counselor or whatever, the school counselor. I think what he's thinking is maybe like having a couple of those, or more than that, or whatever, so that they can go to them if they have any problems, but instead of just going when they have problems, more like having each student having maybe say a 15-minute to half an hour appointment every month or week or whatever they need.
Oh man, absolutely. I think that would help everybody. Yeah. No, okay. Well, if you're putting it in that context, like, yeah, I absolutely think that every child should have that, because some people don't have other people that they can rely on, you know, or have those conversations with. And if that, like I said, like if that person's having issues or they're having a dilemma in their life, then they need to talk about it. You know, it's not good to let those things bottle up inside you. And I've gone to counselors before, you know, like I've literally just to talk to them, and because I was like, man, like I'm just like, I wanted to talk to a professional about how I was feeling, and I always leave feeling better, like always. And so I spent my own money on that, and you know, and like did that on my own time and of my own accord. And yeah, I think every student would benefit from that, having someone just to disclose that information with, and you know, they would just absolutely like benefit from it in every way.
I definitely agree with that. However, the term that was used was psychiatrist. Now, the only thing that I find that could potentially be wrong with that is sending children to a psychiatrist and then maybe having them misdiagnosed or something like that, where they are given behavioral modification drugs, which in many cases is very beneficial for the child, very helpful. But I also disagree with medicating children. I don't really like the idea of it. It's any medication, anything that you're giving somebody is changing their brain chemistry. It's changing the way they behave. It's changing the way they see the world. So you're changing that person with those drugs. So if that kid has been misdiagnosed, or maybe they're just having like a really bad month, and now, I mean, there are things that need to meet the diagnosis, and most of them are over a period of 6 months. If this thing doesn't change, they have A, B, C, whatever it is. So if it's done right, it could be amazing. The only thing I'm worried about is that we're all humans, even the psychiatrists, and everyone makes mistakes now and again. So I'm just thinking for those few kids that there is a mistake that happens, it could be bad for them, and it could change their brain chemistry, and to a point where now they are this kid that needs that medication to focus, or they need that medication to not be whatever. Because when they're off this medication now, they don't feel right. They feel something's off or
No,
whatever.
I totally get what you're saying, but I think where I was coming from is I wasn't talking about diagnosing children. I was just talking about giving them someone to talk to.
Oh, definitely. Like that part, I think is really good idea. Yeah.
So instead of opposed to a psychiatrist, like just a counselor.
Yeah, I think a counselor would probably be like, if the kids, instead of seeking out the counselors themselves when they need them, I think all the kids in the schools should have maybe monthly appointments to the counselor, just so they can go and be like, hey, how are you doing? Tell me about your life, etc., etc. I mean, there's a lot of kids in schools. You'd probably need quite a few counselors. But I think it would be definitely beneficial.
I also think that it'd be very beneficial to have them teach these kids to talk with these counselors from an early age. Because as you get into your intermediate years of high school and your education, then, you end up going through, puberty, and there's so many other things going on, and you're worried about what's after high school, whereas when you're in your primitive years, you're just very focused on now. And if you have somebody to tell you, like, you just got to go sit down and talk with this person for an hour, like, they're probably not going to oppose you. And if you teach them that that's an important part of life, is just talking with people and discussing and developing and building relationships, then they'll understand that from an early age. And then when they get into their later years, you're more likely to get more students who will go to their counselors in their intermediate years in times of need and when they need help and resources at their fingertips.
One thing I would like to mention, though, I learned recently, this is something that I had no idea about. I always thought, like, yeah, talking about everything is good. It's great to talk about it. It's good to get it out, and then you can deal with it from there. I took a trauma-informed practice training course where the person that does this course, they told us that sometimes retelling that story can be another cause of trauma for the individual. So you also have to be very careful that you're not getting these people to re-traumatize themselves in a way. So if somebody, say, has something that they need to talk about, but they're not really at the point where they can talk about it yet, or maybe they won't be ever at that point, it's sometimes good to just be there and not push them to talk. Just be there as like a presence that's welcoming and safe. I don't know. I feel like it's
the difference between listening and fixing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and
basically.
I think that's a common thing with that people run into in terms of with their partners in their relationships, is maybe they express something to you. Like, I had a bad day, my boss is being a jerk, and I couldn't focus, and I was feeling crappy. And instead of telling them what to do about their boss and, saying, well, they need to correct their diet for this, and that, just try and be there and sympathize for them. And, that can go a long ways as just letting you know that you care, as opposed to thinking that they have problems when really, they just had an off day.
Yeah.
So question 2.
Yeah.
From our first fan email. Once again, thank you, Paul. Question 2. If NASA came to you and said they wanted to take you to the space station for a certain amount of time, how long would they have to say before you say no? I don't know if that question makes sense. Before you say no, who's to say I would say no?
Well, I mean, if they say, hey, we're going to take you to space for 50 years, are you going to say yes to that? Or is it like, or 49 years? What about,
what's going on in space? Like, do we have society yet?
Let's just go with, it's just the space station, right? So you can fly around in the space station. That's cool. So this is just we're not going to Mars. We're not going to the moon. We're just going to the space station that is perpetually in free fall, orbiting the Earth. All sorts of space things.
Well, can I fly? Like, can I put on a space suit and fly around, like, in a zero gravity chamber?
There's no gravity at all when you're in there.
In a space station?
In the space station, yeah.
Why not?
Well, because they don't have the artificial gravity. I don't know. If you've watched I love watching the videos of the people in the space station, but I love it even more watching when they are back on Earth, because everything in space, when they're on the space station, it just floats wherever they let it go. They put something, they let it go, and it stays there, and then they pick it up, and then they continue doing whatever they're doing. So when they get back on Earth, they're so used to just like holding a cup in the air, letting it go. It stays there full of whatever it was in it, and then they continue doing whatever they're doing. Then they go back and try and grab that cup, but it's now on the ground because there's gravity. And I love watching that because it's really funny. But yeah, what I would answer to this, I looked it up, and the longest anybody's ever been in space is like 430 something days, I think. So
is that a year and a couple months?
Yeah, 15 months or so? Year and a while. I don't know.
So what is your answer, Jimmy? That's what I want to know.
My answer was like about 6 months, I think. I wouldn't really want to be out for too much longer than that. I think I'd just get lonely. I mean, you probably have like 2, maybe 3 other people up there with you. But I think just the fact that I'd be like so far away from anyone that I know besides those 3 people, I think it would really bug me a little bit. So I wouldn't really want to be up there for too long. And I do know that like there are like health problems, I guess, that you can have from being in this weightlessness, this zero gravity. Astronauts have to work out twice a day for 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours in total, or 2.5 hours each session?
Yeah, each session. So that's like 5 hours a day of working out, because they have to keep their muscle mass and their bones and everything like at peak, because if they don't, they don't really need to use it all while they're in space, because they're just floating around. They're like weightless. So they have to do all this working out and everything. And if they don't, they have health problems that can build up and things like that. So I'm just worried that like if I was up there, I know I'm lazy. I know I don't want to work out that much. So I think I wouldn't want to be up there for too long, just in case I got lazy and didn't work out enough and then was all mangled when I got back down.
Wow.
That's just my own personal thoughts, though. I thought pretty hard about this before I answered.
Okay.
I searched some stuff up. I was like, man, what can happen if you're in space? And I was like, oh, that doesn't look too good. I was like, oh, that guy was up there for 400 days. All right. I was like, I don't want to go too far past that. I don't want to break a record.
Why not? That'd be
it would be cool to break the record, but I don't.
Book of Records.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to be the guy that breaks the record for being in space.
Not if it costs you.
No, that's what I was thinking. I was like, it'd be cool, but there's all these health problems that could happen. I was like, maybe not.
I mean, 6 months to me even seems like a long time. I don't think I would go for more than 30 days, maybe at the most.
30 days?
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, that's why I was asking, like, what's going on up there, right? What is the situation? Because if I'm just sitting in solitude for 30 days, cool. I'm going to sit there. I'm probably going to sit in some kind of like observatory, and I'm going to look out of the earth with a pen and paper, probably do a lot of writing and a lot of meditating. And I think 30 days would be a substantial amount of time, an adequate amount of time for me to create, I don't know, like positive change within myself. But
definitely.
I think if I was to go longer, like you said, there's a lot of health factors that come, a lot of health risks that come into play, right? Yeah. So I don't see the appeal. I mean, I understand there's a lot out there, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, is there stuff to do? What kind of food is there?
I know in the space station. Oh, not great food. No, you get a little. I'm not into it.
I'm not going. No. I'm probably not even gonna go. Ness comes to me and says, "You
no,
want to go to space
NASA,
station?"
No.
I'd be like, "No, man. Like, I'm staying home. I'm gonna eat this delicious food.
I'm gonna
that I'm
go
gonna
get a
cook.
donut and then
I'm gonna go for a walk in the park.
yeah,
You
go
know,
listen
pet
to
the
a
cute little
bird.
dog. Do what I gotta do for the day.
Yeah. I know in the space station what they do is a lot of like zero gravity like testing and things like that. There's some really funny videos of cats in space. That's kind of cool.
Wow.
They have cats and they're trying to figure out where to put their feet and things, and they're freaking out, and it's really funny. I feel bad for the cats because they didn't really get to choose to go to space, but it's cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
On to the next fan email question
Mm-hmm.
from the one and only Ashley.
Thank you, Ashley. We love you.
Ashley says, "Hey there, longtime listener. Just wanted to ask a question. Why did you guys want to start a podcast, and what are you hoping to achieve with the podcast? Thanks, big fan, loyal listener."
I love this email.
It is. It's a great one.
It's a good
Jimmy,
one.
why did you want to start the podcast? When we had that conversation that night that started this whole thing, and I asked you, "Jimmy, do you want to start a podcast?" How did you respond?
I probably said like, "Fuck yeah, I do."
Yeah,
like
you
that.
you were enthusiastic.
I was stoked.
I remember, and it
Yeah.
was I was excited that you were excited about it. So what about it sounded appealing to you?
Well, I've always kind of wanted to have a podcast.
For what purpose, though?
Well, I really like listening to podcasts, and I know the things that I like, and therefore I was like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if there was a podcast that was just like all the cool stuff that I like? That'd be awesome. So then I was like, that would be awesome if I had a podcast, so that I could do cool stuff that I like. So that was what really got me excited. And then our topic kind of idea for it is something that kind of resonates with me. It's what we want is kind of to just build a community of people that want to be happy, healthy, productive, like good people in a way. And I feel like that's where we're going with this, and that's what we're trying for. And what I want with this, what I'm hoping to achieve is exactly that. I hope at least one person is inspired in some way from one or more of our episodes to do something new, do something creative, do something productive, do something that makes them happy, do something that makes them feel healthy, anything, whatever it is. I just hope that somebody's inspired in some way. Also, I mean, like, it'd be cool if we could turn this into like a full-time thing, and then I don't have to go to another job. That would be awesome.
That would be amazing.
That would be so cool. I mean, that's if and when that does happen, that's long ways away. But that's okay. I'm having lots of fun. I really, at this point, I really just enjoy it. I really like having these conversations. I like to do it. It's just fun. And that's where I'm at.
That's what life's all about. Having fun. Making people feel good. Transferring that positive energy from inside of you, the one that you've harnessed, and sharing it with people. Making that good energy infectious. That's what we aim to do. We aim to enlighten you a little bit so that you can take these skills and apply them to your own lives. And I hope, I don't even have to hope anymore. I know after yesterday that some of this has resonated with the listeners. I know you guys have reached out to me. You have told me within one day, and it's I can't even explain how grateful I am and how thankful I am for everyone. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jimmy.
Taylor, why did you want to start the podcast?
I wanted to start the podcast because I just wanted to try and create something for not just myself, but for other people. Art. I try to push my creative boundaries by doing things that to some people might not even seem creative, you know, but it's something that just changes the way I look and think and feel, you know, and the way I look at the world, I guess. But yeah, so the idea just came to me, and mostly because I had started listening to a lot of podcasts like yourself, and I knew, and I was in this phase of transition and change and growth at this one point in my life, and I knew that I was going to find something. I didn't know what it was, and then the idea came to me. And it's so funny the way that it happened, because I don't think I ever told you this, Jimmy, but I'm going to share it with you now. I'm going to share it with all the listeners. That night, when I made that phone call to you, how long did we talk for that evening? Like, would you say probably over an hour, maybe an hour and a half? Probably?
Yeah, I'd say so, probably.
It was a little while.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, well, I'm not pretty sure. I know. When I asked you if you wanted to start a podcast, it was one of the last things we talked about that evening.
Yeah.
When I called you that evening, the reason I called you was to ask you that question.
Really?
Yeah, it was. And I knew that.
Okay.
And I had to like get to it, and I didn't want to just like call you and be like, hey, boom, bomb dropped, let's go. Right? So no, I wanted to talk to you. And it was so clear and evident at that point when I asked you if you wanted to start the podcast that it was just, it was going to be what it is because of how that conversation went. Like, I just called you, we started talking, we got into some really cool, I don't remember what we talked about anymore, but it was like super, I think, you know, if we would have saved that conversation, we probably could have just thrown it into a file and used it as a podcast episode.
Probably would have been a good one.
It would have been awesome. And it probably would have been maybe one of the best ones, because there was just, you know, like, it was just so real and just so easy and just came so naturally. But yeah, I knew. And again, you know, I knew that I wanted to start a podcast for the sake of a creative medium. And when I wanted to do that, I knew that you were the person I wanted to start it with. And I knew from the conversation after having it what the content was going to be. I knew what we were going to create together. And so that's how it happened. And I mean, that's why I wanted to start it for myself, was more or less because I wanted to share something with the world, a content, something that is I hold close and dear to my heart, you know, stuff that I think is important for the world to know, and, you know, just to shine a little bit of light on other people and just share my thoughts. I thought I had something to share with the world, and I wanted to do that. What am I hoping to achieve with the podcast? That's a hard one. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what I want to achieve. I just want to keep creating. Yeah. I just want to keep doing it. And whatever happens, happens. The enjoyment comes from the process, not the destination. You know, I enjoy doing it. I enjoy creating it, and it's fun and exciting, and it gets me working. You know, it comes to me, and I enjoy doing it. So that's ultimately what it is. It's something fun to do. It's something I get to do with my friend who I don't get to see very often. So, you know, that's a bonus. So yeah, you know, that's what I hope to achieve. It's just to keep doing it. Consistency, growth.
Well, I have to thank you for making that phone call, because since then, this has been an awesome journey. I've had lots of fun, and I want to continue having this fun and keep it going. It's been great. I appreciate it.
And I appreciate you, my friend.
And I appreciate everyone listening, because without them, I mean, this would still be great, but I really do love seeing when everybody's all excited when they listen to us. It's cool.
Yeah, there is a part of me that gets I get a certain level of gratification when everybody else tells me that they love the content and that they love the conversation in the show and that they have taken something from it. I had a friend reach out to me the other day, and she told me, like, you know, oh, like, I can relate to it so much. Like, I didn't know that other people had those experiences. She was talking to me about taking edibles and how her mind would go to these places, these like extraordinary places, and she thought she was weird, you know. And then she listened to the show, and we got to talking about just like, I think she listened to the pilot episode where I was talking about microdosing and just the effects that it had on me. And she was like, she was thrilled to know that she wasn't the only one, really, and that just like there was other people, and that she was able to relate to some of the content that we created. And so it was a good feeling just to know that people are not just listening to it, but they're able to take something from it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. So once again, thank you everybody for tuning in to episode 11 of the Roots of Life podcast. I am one of your hosts, Taylor, with my good friend and co-host, Jimmy. So one more thing I want to try and implement into the show.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be at the end of the show. If we get people interested, if people are interested in submitting, if you can send me an MP3 to your song, we will feature the song at the end of every episode.
Yes. I was really hoping this would be a thing.
Yeah, so if you have an original piece of art, it has to be your own. Mm-hmm. That's the one rule. It has to be created by you. We want it to be an original piece of art by you. Share it with us. Send me an MP3 file that I can easily download. We'll play it at the end of each episode. We'll tell the listeners and the fans your name, the song. We'll put a link to the song so that people can find it if they want to find it, and we'll help the community grow a little bit by sharing your art on our platform with everybody else. So because we don't want to just talk about people growing, we want to be part of the change. We want to help other people grow in the most literal way. So if I can help with our platform push your art as well.
That's really what I want this to be. I really want it to be a big community of everyone sharing and pushing everything that everyone else has. I just want it to be like a big happy family in a way. I know that sounds all whatever, but that's what I want. I think it'd be great. Man,
we can do it. We can help it grow with your help.
Hold up. One last thing. Hopefully by the time this one's up, we will have our blog up as well. I'm working right now on making posts for every single one of these episodes so that you have a little bit more information, some places you can go to check out more information, things you can read, stuff like that. So anything that we say in these blogs, I'm going to be trying to get more information on it, flesh it out a bit more so that it's not just us up here talking and just off the top of our head. So there's actually some facts, some stuff that you can find. And that's another place, if you don't have just music, you can share anything with us and we can put it up there for you as well.
Absolutely. I love the idea. It's great. So once again, thank you everybody for listening to episode 11 of the Roots of Life podcast. Give us a listen on any of your favorite podcast services, iTunes, Google Play. You can also find us on SoundCloud /Roots of Life podcast. You can find us at youtube.com.
On YouTube, remember to capitalize Roots and Life. Otherwise, it's hard to find.
Right. We're trying to get to 100 subscribers so we can get that personalized URL and make it easy for everybody to find us on the platform. Mm-hmm. So go to YouTube, find us on there. We'll put a link to the YouTube channel in the description.
It'll be on Twitter.
It'll be everywhere. You know where to find us if you're listening. Thank you, everybody. Taylor and Jimmy, Roots of Life podcast. We are out.
Thank you, everyone.